The gifted child.
I always knew I was different. While other kids played with toys, I spent my time solving puzzles nobody else could figure out. Teachers were amazed whenever I solved problems on the board, and perfect scores became normal for me. Soon, I became known as the smartest student in school. I started winning science fairs, collecting trophies, and building inventions in my room late at night. The more I learned, the more people paid attention to me. Competitions became easy victories, and before long, I was winning championships and appearing on local news. My family was proud, and everyone seemed to believe I was destined for something extraordinary. I entered national competitions, defeated students much older than me, and even appeared on magazine covers as a young genius. While other kids enjoyed their free time, I spent my days studying advanced books and programming on computers. Everywhere I went, people knew my name. Interviews, awards, and recognition followed me constantly. But as the trophies piled up, something started to change. I spent more time studying and less time with other kids. And after school, I often found myself alone. While everyone saw a genius, I felt different from everyone around me. I would stare at the stars at night, filling notebooks with endless ideas and questions. And as books, awards, and expectations continued to grow around me, I realized my journey was only beginning. What seemed like a gift was slowly becoming something much heavier to carry.
Too smart for everyone.
As I got older, being smart stopped feeling special and started feeling lonely. In class, I could understand things that nobody else seemed to grasp. While other students laughed together, I often sat alone wondering why I felt so different. And most days I spent my time studying while everyone else enjoyed being kids. No matter how many awards I won, it never made me feel less isolated. Teachers kept giving me harder challenges, expecting more from me every day. But with every new trophy, the pressure grew heavier. I stayed awake at night thinking about expectations, deadlines. People talked about me, compared me to famous geniuses. I watched friendships form around me while I struggled to connect with anyone. The more successful I became, the less I felt like a normal kid. Sometimes I would stare out the window watching other students enjoy life, wondering what it felt like to live without constant pressure. I felt trapped between who everyone wanted me to be and who I really was. My mind was constantly racing. My energy was fading, and for the first time, I began to question whether being the smartest kid in the world was actually worth it. The gift that once made me special was slowly turning into a burden I carried everywhere I went.
The world's smartest kid becomes famous.
Everything changed when the world discovered me. One day, I was just a gifted kid, and the next, my face was everywhere. Reporters followed me, cameras flashed wherever I went, and interview requests never stopped coming. My social media exploded with followers, and magazine covers featured my story. Universities invited me to speak, major conferences wanted me on stage, and people treated me like a celebrity instead of a normal teenager. I traveled to new places, met famous scientists, and stood in front of crowds larger than I ever imagined. Awards kept coming, and headlines praised me as a genius who could change the future. From the outside, it looked like I was living a dream, but the more famous I became, the harder life felt. Every action was watched, every word was analyzed, and every mistake became a headline. Privacy disappeared completely. Cameras followed me through airports, reporters waited outside buildings, and millions of people formed opinions about someone they didn't really know. The attention never stopped. Even after successful events and standing ovations, I often found myself alone in hotel rooms wondering why I still felt empty. The world celebrated my intelligence, but nobody seemed to notice how exhausted I was becoming. And slowly I realized that being known by the whole world wasn't the same as being understood by even one person.
The weight of being number one.
Being called the smartest kid in the world sounded amazing at first, but soon it felt like a prison. Everywhere I looked, people expected more from me. Headlines called me the future. Teachers gave me impossible challenges, and the world seemed to believe I could never fail. My schedule became packed with competitions, interviews, speeches, and endless work. And millions of people were watching to see what I would do next. At night, I struggled to sleep because my mind never stopped racing. The pressure followed me everywhere. My family expected success, the media expected perfection, and society expected me to keep proving myself over and over again. While other teenagers enjoyed their lives, I spent my days studying, traveling, and carrying responsibilities far beyond my age. Awards continued to fill shelves, but they no longer made me happy. I smiled for cameras even when I was exhausted inside. The more successful I became, the more trapped I felt by my own reputation. Eventually, the stress became impossible to ignore. Anxiety replaced excitement, exhaustion replaced motivation, and I started questioning whether any of this was worth it. I had achieved everything people dream about, yet I felt completely lost. The world saw a genius at the top of his game, but behind the headlines was a teenager struggling to hold everything together. And as the pressure continued to grow, I felt myself slowly breaking under the weight of being number one.
Escaping the spotlight?
One night, I looked at all my trophies, awards, and achievements. I turned off my phone, ignored the endless notifications, and disappeared without telling anyone. Leaving behind the spotlight felt terrifying, but it also felt freeing. I moved into a tiny apartment, rode crowded buses, and experienced life as an ordinary person. Nobody recognized me anymore, and strangely, that made me smile. I bought my own groceries, cooked simple meals, and spent quiet evenings watching rain fall outside my window. For the first time in years, I wasn't being judged by my intelligence or measured by my success. I met new people who didn't care about my achievements and became friends with me simply because of who I was. We played basketball, shared meals, laughed together, and talked for hours about life. Those simple moments brought me more happiness than any award ever had. Meanwhile, the world searched for the missing genius, but I stayed hidden, watching from a distance. Every day felt lighter. Every sunrise felt more meaningful. For the first time, I understood that success wasn't about fame, recognition, or being the smartest person in the room. Success was having freedom, genuine friendships, and peace of mind. And standing on a rooftop watching the sunrise with people who truly cared about me, I finally felt alive again.
The world needs him again.
One morning, I saw breaking news about a global crisis spreading across the world. At first, I ignored it. I had spent years escaping the pressure, and I didn't want to return to the life I left behind. But as the situation grew worse, I couldn't stop watching. Millions of people were affected. Governments were searching for answers, and suddenly the world was looking for me again. So I opened my old notebooks, turned on my laptop, and started working again. Days turned into nights as I researched, analyzed data, and searched for solutions. Soon I was speaking with scientists from around the world, sharing ideas and working together toward a common goal. Before long, I found myself back in front of cameras and global audiences. But this time, it felt different. I wasn't doing it for fame or recognition. I was doing it because people needed help. The challenge was harder than anything I'd ever faced. But after countless hours of work, a breakthrough finally came. Piece by piece, the solution came together, and eventually the impossible became possible. The crisis that had terrified the world was finally solved. Crowds celebrated, leaders thanked me, and once again I was called a hero. Fame, wealth, and endless opportunities returned almost overnight, but this time I understood something I hadn't known before. Success means nothing if it costs your happiness. So instead of chasing the spotlight again, I walked away from it. I chose peace, friendships, and a life that belonged to me. I had helped save the world, but for the first time, I made sure I didn't lose myself in the process.
The happiest genius.
My mornings were no longer filled with pressure, expectations, or impossible goals. I enjoyed simple breakfasts, quiet walks through the park, and moments that I once would have ignored. I started spending my time helping others, teaching students, and sharing what I had learned throughout my journey. Watching someone else succeed brought me more happiness than winning another trophy ever could. I built real friendships with people who cared about me for who I was. I spent more time with my family, appreciated everyday moments, and learned to enjoy life without constantly chasing success. The headlines faded away, the cameras disappeared, and the pressure that once controlled me was gone. Sometimes I would look back at old photos of my younger self and remember the endless pursuit of perfection. I had spent years believing that intelligence, achievements, and recognition would bring happiness, but I was wrong. True success was never about being the smartest person in the world. It was about having people who cared about you, finding purpose in helping others, and waking up each day with peace in your heart. Standing on a rooftop as the sun rose over the city, surrounded by friends, family, and the lives I had touched, I finally understood the lesson that had taken me years to learn. I spent my life chasing greatness, but in the end, what made me happiest was simply being human.